Hello, everybody. This video is for you if you struggle with the Sunday scaries, if you are wanting to jump into this next week in your most empowered way, because we are going to be talking about a very quick practice that takes, I don't know, maybe between 5 and 20 minutes, depending on how much depth you go into, although I would recommend going into a little bit more depth to prepare for the upcoming week. Now, this is a depth psychology practice, an identity shifting practice, and it's something that can be really supportive for you, particularly if you are wanting to move through your life in a more conscious and intentional way. So, what we are going to do, and again, this is very brief, very quick, is we are going to pick a particular archetype for the upcoming week for you to be very consciously and intentionally orienting towards in order to show up to life in a way that feels more supportive, in a way that feels more expansive, and to invoke particular energies that you might feel are lacking in your regular unconscious ordinary state. Now, first of all, you might be wondering, what is an archetype? And I will say that, compared to a lot of like scholars and things like that, I tend to use archetypes when it comes to my psychospiritual practice, when it comes to my wellness, my healing, my growth, my shadow work. I tend to use it in a very much more loose way than like classical kind of, scholarly approaches to the archetype conversation. So archetypes are essentially these characters, these journeys, these places, just these things that are kind of universally recognized by people across cultures, across different people that are recognizable in the collective unconscious of human beings in general. So a great example would be the mother archetype. Regardless of your experience with your own mother, the mother archetype and what that should stand for, what that should embody, the light side, the shadow side of that is something that is fairly quickly and easily recognizable as a concept across people. Now, because I take a more loose approach to archetypes, I think that you can use, tarot imagery, tarot characters as archetypes. I think you can use planetary correspondences. You can use pop culture figures. Like, I'm very loose with archetypes because I think essentially if it's something that acts as a psychological primer that really helps to unlock a certain energy for you, that's all it really needs to do in order to work. So unfortunately, a lot of us go through life kind of embodying certain archetypes without consciously meaning to, that are really interfering with our experience of life, like how empowered we feel. For example, I know for me, it's very hard for me not to slip back into this like damsel in distress, sort of like Lana Del Rey, sad girl energy. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it definitely is my most unconscious state of being, and it can lead me to a state of feeling very disempowered. So something that can be helpful when I feel like I'm slipping into a space where I'm really being ruled by these like unconscious narratives, these unconscious stories about myself that really interfere how I show up to life, what I think is true and possible for me, all of that kind of depth psychology, subconscious goodness type stuff. I try to really get ahead of it by choosing a particular archetype to work with or consciously embody, which is my recommendation for you guys if you are wanting to come into this next week in your most empowered state. So last week I chose the Phoenix archetype, and I'm actually choosing this one again this week because I've recently gone through some tower moments. I've recently gone through some experiences where I really want to lean into this energy consciously of fire, of transformation, of rebirth. These are energies of this archetype that I feel like I could use. So what are you going through in your life right now? I'm so curious to know. And if you feel safe to do so, please let us know in the comments, what archetype you think you might be subconsciously embodying. This might take a little bit of time to kind of reflect on. It might require a little bit of hard truth, a little bit of a being, honest with yourself. But remember, when it comes to the shadow, when it comes to this stuff, we have to approach ourselves in the spirit of non-self-judgment. I mean, after all, this is our first time being human beings. This is our first time in this collection of cells and this collection of emotions and experiences. And so we're not going to have all the answers. We could live for 500 years and we still would not have all the answers. So it's important to approach this in the spirit of self-compassion. So for the upcoming week, what is an archetype, an energy, a vibe that you would like to consciously embody for the next week, for whatever's going on in that particular week, or just in general, how you want to feel in your life? Let us know in the comments below, and let me know if you want to see more videos and more information on archetypes. I do have a video down below, potato quality, but it's still good, on using archetypes in your practice. I'll also put my identity shifting video down below. There is a downloadable resource that goes with that, a ridiculous workbook. It is so jam-packed full of good stuff, but I will link those below for you. Because honestly, when we move through life and we try and be more intentional, often what holds us back is our subconscious belief system, our subconscious bullshit, our attachment to these identities that might not actually be true, right? They might not actually be current or up to date. And so it can be really helpful for us, not even just at the beginning of the week, but it's a really great time to harness that fresh week energy to approach this in a more intentional way, a more conscious way, so that we are really living consciously and presently rather than kind of just reacting, kind of just going on autopilot, which we know is not the best thing for personal growth. If you are new here and you like this video, feel free to give it a like and subscribe if you are into all things chaos, magic, and mindset. And if you are a returning person, hello, I love you. Let me know your archetype below. Until next time, have a great day.